The Dragon King. Dragonspeaker Chronicles, Book 3. Written by Patty Jansen. Narrated by Genevieve Lerner. Chapter 1. A cup of hot tea was a risky thing to carry on a boat, even if this boat only rocked gently. The tea was still hot enough that the heat was spreading to the handle on the metal mug. So Nellie held the steaming cup through the sleeve of her dress as she carried it out of the cabin onto the deck. The riverboat had been traveling slowly since escaping the harbor of Saddam the previous afternoon, and the silent, oppressive night had made way for a pale morning. Through the cold and misty night, the water had lapped gently against the bow, and the ship had rocked softly in the current and with the movement of the sea cows in the harness. They'd stopped briefly to allow the animals to rest, but kept going again as soon as it was light enough to see, because they were refugees, and Nellie had no doubt that someone would come after them, if not to recapture the prisoners, then to take back the shiny Guntherite Order's riverboat they had stolen. But so far, the trip was peaceful, and it was assuring to think all was well with the world and that the journey out of the city would lead to safety. The cabins were spacious and luxurious, but so many people were in the group that it was cramped on board anyway. They hadn't planned on taking quite so many people like Madame Sabine, who demanded her own room, or the hapless monk Brother Martinez, who had been unfortunate enough to be on board when Nellie and Mina climbed onto the deck. Nellie had bandaged Martinez's head from where she had knocked him unconscious with a broom and apologized profusely. At least it was relatively warm. There was a stove on the far end of the main cabin and plenty of wood to burn. The children and a few prisoners who were unwell took the benches, which would normally be used by monks studying scripture. Some others were so tired that they slept on the deck, but Nellie had only dozed while seated leaning against the wall. It might be warm inside the cabin, but the deck was cold, and she kept sagging sideways. The cabin was full of the noise of people snoring and children talking. On top of that, she worried about pursuers and kept an ear tuned for shouts drifting in from outside. But it had been quiet all night, and when she came to the deck with the tea, it was still quiet. The ship was indeed very pretty.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?